Right, Joel. No, what should I do? Should I play the jingle?
Well, play the jingle, mate.
Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Football Booth podcast. This is our 5th episode. My name is Fennan. Joining me, as always, I have my right-hand man, Mayhem. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, no, good. Had a touch of the Rona over the last week. But,
Did you really?
I did. The dreaded double line on a couple of lateral flows, and I was feeling very sorry for myself for a couple of days, but I'm back.
Oh, thank goodness. God, I couldn't lose my other co-host. Jesus Christ. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Back to probably about... Today was my first day of freedom. Freedom! As we head into an international break with a load of pishy friendlies. Thanks, Russia.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
But apart from that, yeah, man, all good. Anya's just tested positive today, so the next couple of days could be... And you always... It's kind of like... It's half and half. What's worse? Is it having to look after the 3 kids single-handedly, or is it coronavirus?
Oh yeah, that's going to be all on you now, isn't it?
I didn't really have it that bad. I managed to fire my way through the 3 Hobbit films and the 3 Lord of the Rings films, so I did all right.
Still haven't watched them. I keep falling... Honestly, I last an hour and I'm out for the count.
Sorry, what? No, that's unacceptable.
And as you can tell by that voice, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to welcome back our special guest from last week, Mr. Sam Foster. How you doing, buddy?
Good to be back, man. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, man. How did you find it last week?
I enjoyed it, mate. I genuinely really enjoyed it, and I was hoping I'd get an invite back at some point, and I'm glad it was sooner than later.
It was, because unfortunately, as you can see if you're watching this on Twitch right now, Gondor is unavailable again tonight, unfortunately. He has unfortunately come down with a fever. He went home an hour after we started work. Didn't even notice. But he was in our all-staff meeting that we have at 8 o'clock, so when we start. And yeah, he got sent home at 9 o'clock. And I honestly just never realised that he did. And mainly because I hadn't seen him a lot in the day. Like the school we work in isn't that big, and I do usually see him. But yeah, just like it didn't come to mind. Like I was like, oh, okay, he's just busy. He's grading or just in the classrooms non-stop, and the schedules don't match up. And like, I even had like people asking me as well, like, is Stuart in today? And I was like, well, yeah, he is. And then I was thinking, it's weird that he's not here. And then like, I know we finish at the same time on Mondays. We finish at 4:30 Swedish time, and so like it got to about 25 to 5. I thought, I'm going to message him saying, have you left yet? And he doesn't reply for another 10 minutes.
Oh.
And then he gets back to me and says, I've got to send home at 9 o'clock. Oh, cheers, mate.
It's cash. Well, I hope he has a speedy recovery, but maybe just a week longer, Stu. Just so I can get a little bit more time in the lunch.
But no, just to reassure everyone and to you two guys, like, no, he's not been sacked.
I didn't think he would.
No.
I didn't think he would be.
No, but yeah, he has unfortunately come down with a fever, so wish him a speedy recovery and hope that he'll be back next Monday for our 6th episode. I was actually going to ask you, Sam and Joel, if you'd listened back to this episode, but it's not actually out yet at the moment because Stu's just been busy, I've been busy, so none of us have been really home this week. So, but it was good to hear from you, Sam, that you enjoyed your debut, so to speak.
Yeah, I really did, mate. I really did.
But, as always, we get into how our teams did this week, and then we move on to some of the bigger headlines in football, and fair to say there are a fair few to pick from. We saw it firsthand in 3 of the games, but I won't give away too much right now. Starting off, Joel, what a result against Ross County. A 4-0 win, Giacomakis hat-trick. He's making that a bit of a trend now, isn't he?
Yeah. one of these players that struggled as he come in for fitness, and maybe struggled with the intensity that Ange likes to play with. But he's come back sort of post break, fighting fit, and we're starting to see the fellow that we were battling so hard to get in the summer. Top scorer in the Eredivisie last season, and we're starting to see why. He's got a real eye for goal. He bullies defenders, and after 18 minutes he had his brace, and then Juranovic, the good guy he is, hands over the ball to him for the penalty to complete his hat trick. So that's his second. His first one was a perfect one. I don't think this one was a perfect one. No, it wasn't. So just a normal one. So the bar's gone slightly down, but no, he's stepped up. I mean, if you'd have told us that Kyogo was going to be out for the length he was going to be out, I think everyone would have been a little bit worried. Giakoumakis hadn't quite put together the run of games. We didn't really have another option there. We'd been knocking about Leon Abada up top. We'd even had Mikey Johnson playing minutes, which was tragic.
There it is.
So getting him up to full fitness, and just seeing that the guy's got a real eye for goal, and he's been superb. I think even to the point now where we'll kick on. I don't know if he's been called up or if Greece are playing any kind of international match in the break here, but I'd really appreciate it if they didn't call him up. But even if Kyogo makes a return over the international break, I think you have to go with Giakoumakis at Ibrox. I don't think Kyogo can just walk back into the team. He's done everything he's been asked of him, and more. So I think it's his shirt to lose now. He's in possession of the jersey, and it's Kyogo's challenge now to come back into the team and take it back.
That's the thing. He's coming back in at a really tough time because, of course, we've got the big one coming up next for you at Ibrox. Second to last game of the season. Surely Giakoumakis has got to lead the line going forward towards basically the end of the season.
Yeah, well, second to last game before the split. Obviously, we'll play Rangers, and then we'll play St Johnstone at home, and then the league is split, and we'll play the remaining 5 fixtures. So at this point, I think he has to start. I can't see any other case for it. Kyogo probably not going to be match fit anyway, so bringing him off the bench is going to be a great weapon to utilise as well. But he's in possession. I think he'll do well. Up against Connor Goldson and whatever donkey they decide to pair next to him. Whether it's that Calvin Bassey or that Balogun, whoever they decide to go with. I think they're the kind of defenders that want to feel a striker, want to put the hand on. So I think they'll back himself. They'll be happier to see Giakoumakis on the team sheet than they would Kyogo because of his pace. But I don't know, Giakoumakis just has something about him, and I think he'll relish that challenge. He had a really, really good game at Parkhead when we played him, and he was strong against them. I think if we played to our full flowing football like we did in the first half against Ross County, and would have been even more free flowing if we had a referee that was competent, instead of instead of letting Ross County hack the life out of the players. So the point where Tom Roderick had to come off because of it was Kelvin Ramsey, whatever his name is, whatever bum it was in that league, that absolutely chopped him in half, and was rightfully sent off. But there was one before that. You always get a free shot, and the reffing is abysmal north of the border. It makes the Premier League look brilliant, and that's saying something.
Yeah, well, speaking of referees, we obviously Sam brushed over it pretty briefly. We saw that there is, it's heavy. I don't know if it's heavy speculation or if it is official, but we have seen that Mike Dean has announced that he will retire from Premier League officiating at the end of the season. Pretty glad to see that fucking wetwad be out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like when you come down to referees, they're all fouled footballers. They're people that can't play football. Otherwise, you'd play football. Why would you be a referee? And I guess the problem there being is that they don't really play football at a competitive level. You know, they don't understand the game from a playing aspect. They understand it from a rules aspect. And you know, when you're trying to give the game every chance, that's maybe not the best way, or maybe not the best person to have in the middle. I think Mike Bean down the years and the other refs have shown just a complete lack of actual understanding for playing the game. And yeah, it was highlighted again across multiple games on the weekend that even with VAR and slow down replays multiple times to look at things over and over and over again, just feels that they consistently get things wrong. VAR was brought in to support them, but all it's really done is shone a light on the level of incompetence that runs throughout officiating.
It really does. It really does.
I have to agree. Jeez. You didn't really say much wrong there. I have to agree with you.
It's at every level.
Yeah, every single level. The officiating is so poor, and they need to go back to basic training or something. Everyone involved with any form of officiating, because week in, week out, there should not be this many mistakes. I just don't see. It's supposed to be it's your trade. You're a professional referee, and you're supposed to be able to do these things at a whim. It's your job, but you're not doing your job, so why are you getting paid? Yeah.
I say it all the time, mate. Like, this is the thing. Like, you put them in any normal day job, and they make that many mistakes, and in a matter of days of working, they'll be gone by the end of the week. Mm-hmm. And it's mad to think. I mean, they're stealing a living. It honestly stresses me out big time, because this is something we talk about every week, every episode.
I think there's a lot that needs to be looked at in officiating. Obviously, the main thing is that this is this person's job, especially in the Premier League. You know, they're professionals. They're being paid, upwards of whatever it's £40,000-50,000 a year to do this job, so that they have no excuse really. Up in Scotland, they're still part time, so they've a slither of an excuse, but there's absolutely no questioning that down south, that they should be getting on top of this. But I think there is an element in football where if you make a mistake, you are hammered and hounded by not only the thousands that are watching, obviously in the crowd, but then by the players. You look at the rugby and the respect that resonates from the players to the ref that then goes into the crowd as well. So, the rugby refs feel more empowered to make decisions, and when you're confident and you've got that, you're not overanalyzing things. They're mic'd up, so we know their chain of thought. When a rugby ref comes to a decision, whether you agree with it or not, you hear how he got to that chain of thought. Right, this is why I don't think it's foul play. This and this. There's this whole air of mystery with VAR, where someone just talks in a little voice in the ear, and then they run over to a little telly. Has anyone actually ever seen the ref go over to the telly once they've been told to review the situation, and they stick with their actual decision? Never seen it. They go over to the TV, and then they say they may as well not go over to the TV. They may as well just go, okay, guy in the ear says there's a mistake, I'll go with it. Because every time they go over to the TV, they just listen to the person that's told them they need to go and look at it. It's just like they're sheep. That they're following the pattern that's being told to them. Okay, look, we think you've made a mistake. Do you want to go review that? And then they go over to look at the screen, and then they're playing a 5-second clip of the whole thing in super slow motion. You slow anything down, it looks 100 times worse. And then, of course, they'll go with the decision. So the TV's redundant. It's completely pointless. It should be taken away. It just wastes too much time. No one sticks with their decision anyway. They always revert. So it's completely obsolete.
Yeah.
And then you've still got these people that are making horrendous decisions the week before. Oh, we'll put them out of the limelight. We'll put them off into Stockley Park where there's not a TV screen on them. But what they're still doing is making horrendous decisions, and then it's the fella in the middle that then has to run over and almost back them up that they've got it right. And it's just time and time again they fall utterly short of an acceptable level.
Well, speaking of sheep and rugby, Joel, I'd like to steer away from that topic right now. I know this isn't football related, but I am absolutely hurting from Saturday's result. Absolutely hurting. 7 years. 7 years since Italy last won a Six Nations game. And they came to our backyard and scored a last-minute try for them to win the game by a point. Honestly, never in my lifetime did I imagine Italy beating Wales, especially at the Millennium.
I mean, if that was FIFA, there'd be some broken controllers and broken screens.
I
can only imagine.
Mate, things would be flying off the balcony.
It's not as bad as this. It isn't as bad as this. What I'm going to do
I know.
Dramatize it fucking massively, but Italy are like the San Marino of the Six Nations. You know, they've not won a game for 7 years. Obviously, San Marino never won an international football match, but that's their level. You know, they really are the whipping boys, to the point where Scotland obviously beat them, whatever it was, 33-22 last week, and they were saying that was a good result for Italy to only lose. You know, they scored 22 points and they only lost by 11. So.
Mate, San Marino have an open bus parade when they score a goal.
And Italy had an open bus parade all the way out Cardiff.
It's still going on.
Going down Chippy Alley as we speak, you know. Picking up some Clark's pies on the way.
And buffets over there.
Buffets over there. But steering back onto football, despite all I say inconsistent officiating, and I'd say more incompetent officiating, consistent definitely in being shit. But from a performance perspective, Joel, Celtic look to be in very confident. What's the word? They seem they've got a good. They're in a good place right now.
Yeah, look, we had the swagger back today. On the swagger back there on the weekend. Jota looked back to his best. Maybe Juranovic and Desmond Maeda gets on the score sheet as well. Yakimakis had a really good game. Callum McGregor does his usual and puts in a 7 out of 10 as the captain. So we're back to our free flying best. Keeps us top going into the break now. A couple of boys are going away on international duty. Hopefully we get all of them back fit, and the ones that are not, then we can sort of hone them over the break and get them ready for their final run in here.
Absolutely. And speaking of run-ins, of course, Cardiff also have their big day coming up as well against the Jacks. And we went into the international break on a high. We came out 2-1 winners at home to Stoke, who, despite where they are in the table at the moment, they've been a fairly steady championship side. They've been pretty difficult to go to. They do have a few really decent championship players, and despite it was quite a rearguard start. It was a good goal scored by, I think it was Lewis Baker, the former Chelsea player. So he scored a very nice 25-yard goal from distance. And then thankfully, what we can do and what we need to do more consistently is press the back line when they're under pressure. And thankfully we did that, and we came out 2-1 winners courtesy of goals from Mr. Tommy Doyle and Jordan Hugill. And Joel, I must say, man, it's very hard to not fall in love with Tommy Doyle right now.
Don't get attached, mate.
I can't, dude. I'm telling you, he's recently been called up to the England under-21s.
Oh.
He has, yeah. That's how. Honestly, he's been a breath of fresh air to the side completely. The guy's creativity, his set pieces, his vision, his technique, he is honestly Like you know, I don't know if I can put him in the same breath as Peter Whittingham, but I see glimpses.
Wow, that's a blast from the past. Sorry.
Oh mate, you know, yeah, God rest his soul, Peter Whittingham. We even in fact held a minutes of applause that Wednesday night when we played Stoke as well, to mark the 2-year anniversary of the passing of Peter Whittingham, and I think that really did match up with the result as well. Yeah, it was a really special night, and it was just such a really good place to be in going into the South Wales derby, which will take place on the 2nd of April on the Saturday, so that'll be the day before the Celtic Rangers game. Sorry, back onto Rangers as well. They obviously they came out 2-1 winners against Dundee. We saw a debut goal from Aaron Ramsey, couldn't miss to be honest, but not a confident win from the Huns. Do you feel pretty confident going into this game, Joel?
No, not at all, mate.
No?
I hate these games. I hate them. I really hate them. I don't know who they're going to give the game to, but no doubt it'll be one of the loyalist ultras that infest, John Beaton or Bobby Madden or one of these boys that just absolutely support Rangers without a shadow of a doubt. John Beaton has absolutely no denying that. He's been photographed in Rangers supporters bars and that. So why he's anywhere near officiating Scottish football is a joke, but shows our dire need for it, I guess. But we're down to Ibrox, a place where they've been very good now for a couple of years. I don't really think you'll get dickheads from both sides that'll be trying to bam up the other side and saying that they're super confident. But I hate the games. I don't enjoy them. It's just that horrible, sickening feeling building up to it.
Oh, mate, you don't sleep. You struggled to sleep the night before.
Yeah, so like the tension will be building. The only sort of thing that we have is we have such a superior goal difference that even if we lose, Ibrox will still be top of the league. So yeah, we go there with a little bit of an advantage. If we play well, I think we're more than capable of getting a result. The first game that we played there, Odsonne Edouard missed an absolute glorious chance, and then Callum McGregor scores an own goal, and that's how they beat us the first time. And then obviously, a couple of a month back there, we absolutely scud them. So we've got it in us.
Yeah, of course.
It's there, but you never know with these games. It could be decided on a bad tackle. It could be decided on a poor refereeing decision. We see them more often than not, or it could be decided by a moment of magic, or it could just be one team is fully at it and the other isn't, as we see a month ago. Within a half, Rangers were done and dusted. They've picked themselves up from then. They've dusted themselves off. They've come back, and never really had any doubt that they would find a way to win at Dundee. I believe, and it was late in the end, but you just always kind of knew that they were going to find a goal.
Yeah, it is honestly like it feels like form goes out the window when it goes to derbies. It's just purely down to who shows up on the day.
Yeah, that's exactly what I go with. Even I think another one coming up in the Premier League soon is Everton, Liverpool. The form that Everton are on and the form that Liverpool are on. I'd like to say Liverpool are going to smash it, but as Joel tells me all the time, it's Derby Day. Derby Day is a different day. Doesn't matter on form. Every bit of emotion and desire and everything goes into these derbies because it's the other team you just do not want to lose to. Same with Arsenal, Spurs, Rangers, Celtic, Liverpool, Everton. It doesn't matter. You just do not want to lose that day. You want, even if you have a bad season, then you can say, yeah, we did the double over Spurs. I'd be like, yeah, we did the double over Spurs. I'm happy.
Yeah, you would have been an Arsenal fan, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
Even more so with the crowds as well. When there wasn't crowds there, form kind of did ring true. when we had that poor season when obviously the crowds weren't there and Rangers won the league. It was really difficult to beat that team. They were banging form, but the charged crowd, the atmosphere, the fact that it looks like there'll be no away fans for either the game at Ibrox or the game at Celtic Park. It looks like Celtic have rejected the 800 that the Rangers were trying to give us. So it's going to be.
Did you say 800?
Yeah.
Is that it? 800?
Well, sure, yeah, they cut the allocation because we were partying too much. It used to be 8,000 and we turned up too many times.
10%. Wow.
Yeah, we turned up too many times and scudded them, so they cut the allocation to 800. So, look, it is what it is. I think
that's a con, that is.
It makes the game that much harder. You've absolutely no section of the stadium anywhere that's going to be vying for you to have any success. So it'll be the game at Ibrox will be incredibly difficult. The atmosphere will be very, very intense for the players to play in. But also, we know that in a couple of weeks they'll have to come and face that at Celtic Park. So yeah, I think if we could get a draw from Ibrox, I'd be more than confident that we beat them at Celtic Park. And if we take 4 points from the derby games, I think we win the league.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a point would be massive at Ibrox. I think if you were offered a point right now, you'd snap their arm off, wouldn't you?
100%. And I think if we were to draw with them, what it would do to them as well, the fact that was their game at home, that was their game against us. Where do they see us dropping points? I think the pressure may take them to crumbling point. Struggled against Dundee. They've struggled against a few other teams. That could take them to crumbling point where it gets all too much and they start to drop points. Where you wouldn't expect them to drop points. So we'll have a few tough games when the split comes, as you always do. We'll have to play Hearts again, and probably have to play Hibs again. We've dropped points as well this season.
Just to quickly note, so to those listening or watching right now and are not familiar with what the split is in the Scottish Premier League, Joel, do you want to elaborate on what the split consists of? Yeah,
so what happens is after the first 33 games, the top 6 will then... The league splits in half, and the top 6 will play each other for the remaining fixture, and then the bottom half will play each other for the remaining fixtures as well. The top 6 can then go on and qualify for Europe. Bottom 7, obviously the real bottom and the battle in relegation, but 7th are just playing out the season, and then it doesn't matter if the concept. The thing that people don't like about the split is that what will probably happen is 7th will end up on more points than 6th, because 7th will play the other 5 worst teams in the league, and 6th will play the 5 best teams in the league. And what you often see is 7th have more points than 6th, but they can't go above each other. So as soon as the split comes, the lowest that the team in 6th can finish is 6th, the highest the team in 7th can finish is 7th, no matter of points. So it's a wee bit confusing. I think the thing that could really cause a lot of problems this year is that 4th is European football in Scotland, and currently between 4th down to 10th there's 4 points in it. So you could end up in a position where 7th has more points than potentially 4th, and 4th gets a European spot and 7th gets nothing. So it does feel like a broken concept.
Yeah, well, the thing is, well, I mean, I first heard of it because it's the same structure in the Welsh Premier League. When was the split introduced to the Scottish Premier League?
Well,
I swear I'm unfamiliar with it. I didn't know it was a concept of the Scottish Premier League.
So I've always known it to be there. So you're looking. It's got to be probably around sort of 2000, 2001. When the SPL was formed. So it's been there for. Basically, it fits in. Back then, it would have fitted in more old firms. There's then 4 old firms in the season rather than just the 2. TV money, I guess, back in those
I
days.
just can't believe I'm learning about it now. I honestly was not familiar with there being a split in the SPL.
Mhm.
Fucking hell.
So that'll take place after the next 2 games, and and then like I said, we sort of motor towards the end of the season, and if we get 4 points from the derbies, then I think that'll be enough to see us home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, another team that had another good week, the Arsenal. A big 3 points at Villa Park. I don't know if it was a convincing performance. Oh, of course you had Liverpool as well, of course, yeah.
Yeah, like obviously, like I think we played better in the first half of the Liverpool game than what we did the entire of the Villa game, but Villa just didn't turn up. So we were very dominant in the first half. They didn't even get a single shot off. Like they didn't threaten in any way, shape, or form. We looked good. We looked solid. Second half, I think up until like the 65th, maybe even the 70th minute, it was still much of the same story. And then, much like I think it was the Watford game a few weeks ago, we just in the last 20 minutes we let them have the ball. We just sat back and they had chances upon chances. Like they really could have nicked it. Same as Watford. I think that one ended 3-2, and it's because we seem to just allow teams to play their game in the final 20-15 minutes. Maybe tiredness, there could be loads of factors, but I feel like it was a good victory. We're now, I think, 3 points above Spurs with a game in hand. We've still got Spurs to play. We've still got basically all of the people around us. We've got United to play, West Ham to play, Spurs to play, Chelsea to play. So we really could end very strongly, or we could end 7th. It's a very pivotal point in Arsenal's season.
It's a big test for you boys, absolutely. Like, I'm looking at the fixtures now, like, April does not look like a fun month.
No, not at all. I mean, our next game is what, Palace?
Away, yeah.
Yeah, Palace away, Brighton at home, Southampton away, and then it's Chelsea, United, West Ham, and then I'm sure they're going to chuck Spurs in somewhere around there as well. And
Yeah.
Everton could be fighting for relegation at the end. So if that's the case, they're going to be coming with everything they've possibly got. They could need a victory on the final day, and that could be Spurs overtaking us. Like, you never know, because I feel like Man United have dropped off now. I really don't feel a threat from Man United.
No, not at all.
A threat from Spurs. I know there's only a point difference between them, but Spurs seems to be kicking on a little bit more now than what United are. So, I mean, West Ham is West Ham, with no disrespect, man. I just feel like their season is pretty much done and dusted. Like they don't look like the same team they was at the start of the season at all.
No, not at all. Just looking at the teams around Arsenal at the moment, again, like Arsenal being in the strongest position, occupying that final Champions League spot, and then of course, game in hand over Spurs. United, again, like you said, they are, gradually falling behind. So again, like 4 points adrift, and of course, also taking into account the game in hand for Arsenal.
Yeah, that could be 7 adrift, and that's like a 3-game gap. Like that's 3 games where we could maybe pick up a draw. Say we draw against Spurs or United or Chelsea. Like that's something that we can afford if we win that other game in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the flaws within the Arsenal side at the moment that you really feel you need, that you really want Arsenal to cut out going into these final 10 games of the season?
The mentality. I feel like the mentality for the entirety of the game. It's good that we start off strong and we keep coming strong. Like we're starting off well in game. It used to be, maybe we'd go down 1-0 and then we'd nick it towards the end. But now I feel like we are starting to play our style of football, or should I say Pep's style of football, because I feel like Arteta is really taking some pointers from Pep, and he's improved the squad overall. It's got to be mentality for me. Now's a pivotal point in the season, like I've said, where we need people to keep their head on their shoulders, keep a straight head, and make sure you're going in every game, and without being too cliche, treating it like it's a Champions League final, because every game right now is so important, because Tottenham are going to be hot on our heels, very hot, especially now they're picking up some form and they're hungry for that North London derby because of the way it was cancelled by Arsenal. So I really feel that Tottenham are gunning for it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, having a man like Antonio Conte behind them as well, and is now really, I wouldn't say he's getting the best out of the side, but I think with the experience he's got and the way he will not let his side drop their mentality, like Arsenal have done in the past. Like, you know, I think it's been Arsenal's Achilles heel for the past few years.
Yeah, and I feel like just touching on Spurs again, like if Kane and Son turn up, it's a very different team to if they don't turn up. So depending on the day, say the North London derby, Kane and Son turn up, like it's game on, because them two, when they're firing, I'd say are probably one of the best partnerships in the league.
They really are. They're dangerous.
Ridiculous. They are so dangerous, and I love. Even though I'm an Arsenal fan, I do love watching Son and Harry Kane when they are firing in all cylinders. It really is a joy, if just a pure footballing perspective to watch. But at the end of the day, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I try and stay true.
You keep yourself more grounded now, don't you?
I try to. I try to, because I used to be very, very toxic when it came to Spurs. Like, especially, I think in the past, because of, you know, the way Adebayor went there and things have happened, etc. I feel very, very strongly towards them. But yeah, let me come away from Spurs. They're getting too much screen time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, sorry, touching on the Liverpool game, I just want to, Martinelli really, really showed that he can actually do stuff, and he also really, really showed that we are crying out for a striker.
He was the one big silver lining from that game for Arsenal, wasn't he?
He really was. I thoroughly enjoyed the first half. I thought it was quite an open first half. Martinelli was running rings around Alexander-Arnold. It was a good defensive display. We were actually opening and making chances, but we just didn't have anyone there to finish them. And that is our biggest thing at the moment. As I said last week, and I'll say every week until it happens, we need a striker, like an
100%
out-and-out goal scorer. Without that, we're never going to challenge the City or the Liverpool or even Chelsea, of that matter. Like, I feel like they're like, maybe they've dropped off a little bit recently, but I always felt like Chelsea was still a little bit above the Arsenal, the Spurs, the West Hams, etc. But to only lose 2-0 to Liverpool and not be pinned back for the whole game, I'm quite happy. I mean, I never expected the win. I thought maybe a draw if we're lucky, but for it to only be 2-0 and us to play in the manner that we played, I was particularly happy. I can't really argue too tough with that.
Yeah, so sorry, Joel, go on.
I mean, sorry, I don't really cut you off there. I mean, I watched the back end of the first half, and I think Arsenal were. I think it's difficult to say it was a great performance, because ultimately you're judged by what you do at the top end of the pitch. It was good from Ramsdale to Martinelli, Odegaard, and was Leno, was he in that? Sorry, Saka, and then beyond that, it wasn't great. And then the second half, Odegaard should score.
Yes,
they're bigging up a save massively. He hits it really basically at him. Fair enough, he does well not to dive in, but Odegaard should score. And then from that moment, it just felt like a shift. And from that moment on, Liverpool just kind of took over. And as soon as Liverpool got their first goal, that's why these guys are challenging City, because they're a juggernaut, and this is what these teams do. Martinelli, I don't want to be too harsh, he's still a youngster, he had a decent game, but he should score as well. I think it's like the final 10 minutes he's in the box, it's like almost like Henry-esque. He tries to like bend it, and he misses, but he should score like every single day of the week. The boy's telling Arteta that he wants to be a number 9, and he's missing that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that.
Like touching on what you said, like I agree with you. Like Saka should have scored. Lacazette had a couple chances. Odegaard should have scored. Martinelli should have scored. That's what I'm saying. We're missing that. That's what we're missing. We have the players around that are doing good bits and getting the ball in and having a chance here and there. But we need that guy that is just going to show up and put the ball in the back of the fucking net.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have that. Whilst Aubameyang's out there at Barca putting up tweets about, oh, this is from the non-finished player or whatever it was. It was like not.
It was the finished player or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Something about because of obviously the fans were saying, oh, he's finished, blah blah blah, and he's obviously having a war of words with Arteta. Like, whilst Aubameyang's out there doing that to Real Madrid, scoring 2 goals for fun, like we're missing a striker, and it all seems to have blew back in our face.
Sometimes. Unfortunately, sometimes players and managers clash, and ultimately, one thing has to happen, and that's that the player leaves because the board are never going to sack him. You look how many times Ferguson put his foot down, whether it was David Beckham or Roy Keane or anyone else. Arteta's seen obviously a top manager in Pep Guardiola. He's seen how he commands that respect, and he's probably seen Pep just say to a few people. I think Thierry Henry famously tells a story when he went to Barcelona. Pep had this philosophy that you had to, if you're playing on the left, you have to play completely on the left-hand side. And Henry takes the ball, beats 1, beats 2, goes on to Messi's side at the time, and puts him in the top corner. Pep pulls him off, hooks him, and says you wasn't doing your job. So Pep's that ruthless. This is my system. This is how we do it, and that's what Arteta would have seen, and he would have seen again a juggernaut be built at City with that kind of harsh mentality. And there's no doubt that since Arsenal have got rid of the toxicity, that whatever was happening with Aubameyang, that there's been an improvement in culture. And that's resonated with the young players coming through.
Yeah. He's done it with Sterling as well, though, Pep.
Yeah, I think there's a few things floating around, isn't there, with Sterling. There's that Bernardo Silva piece as well that I don't think has anything to do with Pep, but he's saying he wants to go back and play in Portugal. So this kind of authority, has certain players that thrive under it, has certain players that can't quite get into it. And I think ultimately, you hear Roy Keane talk about it a lot, and it's the culture of a football club. I think when Arteta went to Arsenal, the culture was in the fucking bin.
Yeah,
that the club was a laughing stock, right? And this isn't we shouldn't be having a dig at Unai Emery, but even the way he was introducing himself was being mocked. The fact that he was polite enough to say good evening or whatever to every
good evening
reporter. Every reporter that was coming in to ask him questions, even that was being mocked. The 7th, 8th, 9th place finishes. It was a laughing stock. So it was a real culture problem. We had to get rid of a load of people that just weren't either good enough or adhering to the standards and the culture that Arsenal dictates it should be. I mean, Arsenal's a football club that's won the 3rd most league titles in England. You've Man United, you've Liverpool, and and then Arsenal is probably the 3rd biggest club in England, and they're rolling about in 8th. Talking about how they won the FA Cup. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. I do miss Count Dracula though.
I do like touching on what you said there. I agree with you, and I feel like Arteta has brought in an element of it looks like a more well drilled Arsenal, one that has an actual image,
identity.
One that has identity, image, one that has an actual identity, and the style of football that you're going to be playing. Now it's going to be a little bit fancy up the top, and it's going to be quick passes or decisive passes through. You know what to expect now from Arsenal. There seems to be a pattern emerging. Same with the defence. It's more drilled. They look more sturdier. Everything looks like it has improved, and we are kicking on to potentially, start challenging for I still think City and Liverpool are just way above the rest at the moment.
Oh yeah,
Well, I
definitely.
mean, when's the last time that Arsenal had a legitimate interest from Real Madrid in a player? You know, all the rumours that KT is being linked to Real Madrid, that screams volumes about the progression. You know,
Yeah.
when was the last time that kind of, you've had Aubameyang come to Barcelona, but that's because they're in ruins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they can field, what was it, something stupid like Adama Traore and Braithwaite is like 2/3 of a Middlesbrough front line from a decade ago.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Literally, no, it does. It speaks volumes in the fact of like we had become a selling club, and I feel like we are now slowly getting back up to the level of where we can start fighting with the Bayerns, the Liverpools, the Cities, etc. It's so key of what happens this summer for that, because if we don't bring in a striker this summer, and Saka isn't firing, Smith Rowe, etc., we could have a very, very different season next season. We could start again seeing the 7th, the 8th. We need that striker in the summer, or we will struggle. I highly believe that.
I don't think there's anybody in the Premier League. Nobody. I don't think City. I don't think Liverpool. I don't think United. If Real Madrid come, I don't think there is a team in world football that can keep a player. Unless you're talking, the ultimate one club man and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But KT, if Madrid come down the line and offer whatever they may offer, whatever they can rinse out of the Spanish bank over there, and they say,
yeah.
Something that Barca can't do.
Well, that's because Barcelona are the good guys in Catalonia. But we're not getting into politics, man.
No.
But if, Real Madrid take out their billionth loan from the Spanish bank and come fire them with 70 million on the Never Never, I don't see a way that. Yeah, I don't see a way how anybody says no to that. The Bernabeu and just the history. You see Gareth Bale gone out there in recent times, and there's been that heritage from sort of David Beckham. He paved the way for English players to go over there. Michael Owen, Jonathan Woodgate. They're not two of the most successful people that went over there, but Steve McManaman, and they've paved this route for British players to go and really thrive in Real Madrid. And I think if they were to come, I don't see a way that he would stay, unfortunately, and then you have a real problem as to how do you replace, because I think he's the best left back in the league, bar Cancelo.
Yeah, I have to agree. I rate Tierney so highly, and again with you, Cancelo on either side, ridiculous. That guy is just an animal. I don't know what he eats for breakfast every day.
Oh, he could play anywhere. He could literally play anywhere, Gaffer.
He is like, what a still he was. But yeah, behind him, I'd say Tierney has to be in the second place for me. Not just because I'm an Arsenal fan, but purely because of just pure football. Like, he is a phenomenal left back. Like, phenomenal.
Yeah.
You saw it at Celtic, you've seen it here at Arsenal. Like, he can do it anywhere in any league, and if he goes to Spain, he'd be a massive hit. He really would.
And any bum that says Andy Robinson, you just have to watch a Scotland game and speak to anyone.
Well, they're called Scousers.
Games. Unfortunately.
But yeah, that's all for me on the old Arsenal front. I mean, relatively, like you asked, Morg, it was a relatively good week. Like, really and truly, like 3 points out of is exactly what I said that we'd get. I said we'd lose to Liverpool and we'd win after that, and it's exactly what happened. So I'm upset.
Completely off topic. Can we just talk about something that is really? I've had it on my chest for a while. It's going to be a really unpopular opinion.
I can't wait now.
Especially if there's somebody watching. I don't know. Obviously, I don't watch the live stream, but especially if there's a certain consistent viewer that does tune in, and I know that Sam likes him. But can we talk about how overrated Declan Rice is? I'm not saying he's not a good footballer, right? I'm not saying he's not a good footballer. I think he's a good footballer, right? I think he's a good footballer. So I'm not saying he's pish. I think he's a good footballer. But Teddy Sheringham the other week was talking about being the best midfield player in the world. That's a difficult statement to digest when he's not the best midfield player at West Ham. Souček, miles above him, mate. Souček walks into every single midfield in the Premier League.
He really does. He really does. Absolutely.
Gets in City's team. gets in Liverpool's team, gets in Chelsea's team. He maybe wouldn't get in Chelsea's team next season. Watch out when Conor Gallagher comes back. That boy's a beast. But Souček is a machine. And I've got bums trying to tell me that he's the best midfield player in the world. Every time I watch West Ham, right, he just doesn't do anything. He just runs about and then he smiles at the end of the game because he's a captain's armband on. And I'm kind of trying to understand what he does.
Well, he sings Rice Rice Baby on TikTok as well.
It's apart from doing the overload with Gary Neville, I don't really understand what he's bringing to the thing. I've watched one game that he's affected, and that was in the FA Cup against, was it a non-league team? And then he starts doing a Michael Jackson dance. That's when you know you're not the best midfield player in the world, because you're dancing at scoring a goal at a non-league team.
I feel like I feel like a lot of, sorry to cut you, but I feel like a lot of the hype around Declan Rice was more aimed towards the start of the season, because West Ham started phenomenally, and so did he. And I feel like as we've seen more and more, you know, let's call it gaps in the West Ham team, more and more we've seen them gaps in Declan Rice. I think arguably he's one of the best players at West Ham. And if he was to slot into a Man United or a Chelsea or a Liverpool or a City, he wouldn't drastically improve them, but he'd fit in. He wouldn't exactly be like, oh my God, we spent 100 million on Declan Rice, he's going to bang 30 goals, or we're never going to concede a goal. But I do feel like he can slot into most teams in this league and do well. I don't think he'll be a world beater. Best centre mid in the world or whatever, whoever said that, that's a massive overstatement. Like, that is...
What is he though? I don't understand what he is. Right, and maybe this is holding him back. Right, maybe every time I see him play, I see him play in the Euros final against Italy. Mm-hmm. Lol. I see him play. Just recently, I see him play against Seville, where West Ham went through, and the team played really, really well. West Ham were fantastic in that game, but by his ability to pass the ball sideways and find Thomas Souček and the wing-backs, I struggled to see what he was doing. And then fast forward to the Tottenham game, where Harry Kane's dropping deep, and he's meant to be that defensive midfielder. Harry Kane, well, I mean, he ate him alive, and Harry Kane that eat most defensive midfield players alive. Harry Kane is world class. He's having a poor season and he's banged 12 goals. He's only one bar
in the Premier League.
I think he's fourth now because Son scored 2, didn't he? Son went above.
Yeah, he did.
But he's having a poor season. He's in the upper echelon. So Harry Kane's world class. Absolutely no doubt about that. But I think my struggle is, what is he? Because he started off as a centre back, and then he moved in and he was a centre back playing in midfield. And I think now he's definitely a midfield player. But I think the problem he has is where West Ham want to play him. I don't think he's a defensive, sit back, spray passes, like a Pirlo kind of player. He wants to break lines. And the problem is that the person that breaks the lines in the West Ham team is actually world class. Thomas Souček is actually world class. So he's never going to be that.
I'm with Joe on that. Souček just offers so much more for West Ham. The man is a unit. He heats up the ground. He dictates play. He drives forward. He contributes to goals. Gets himself involved and creates such great opportunities. Whereas, like you said, they can't seem. I don't even know if Declan Rice can make up his mind in terms of what he is. Is he a centre back? Is he a holding midfielder? Is he more of like a Jordan Henderson, where he will get forward when he can? And
I think that's where he needs to go. I think he needs to go to be a box-to-box midfielder. I don't see him doing it at West Ham, because I don't think if West Ham sold Declan Rice for 100 million and reinvested it, I think they could get a better deep line playmaker. I mean, I'm not a scout. I'm not going to tell you who that is. I just feel they could get a better person to play in that pivot role. More in the sort of mould of a Jorginho. I think he's the best pivot in the Premier League.
Ooh, yeah, he doesn't get as much credit as he should.
So
so underrated.
Yeah, that's the kind of pivot. I think Declan wants to push on, and he could play that box to box midfield role probably very, very productively. But I just think Thomas Souček would absolutely walk in and improve every single team in the Premier League. I think you'd struggle to even go worldwide. And you look at all the big boys ran the world, he would walk into Real Madrid's team. He would fucking cut the average age of that midfield in half. He would walk into PSG and Bayern Munich and really pay a lot of attention to. Obviously, I know they've got Joshua Kimmich and what a baller. But I would back him to go anyway. You know, the guy is immense, and I think Declan Rice has maybe suffered from that. I just need to get it off my chest. A lot of people talking about this guy being
Yeah, I mean,
a lot
feel like
better than he.
I feel like ultimately it doesn't matter too tough, and I'm sorry, Liam and West Ham supporters, but I think they're going to lose them both in the summer. Rice and Souček, they're without sounding like a dickhead, they're both better than West Ham. I'm sorry, like West Ham have had a good run, and I feel like now it's coming to an end. Just much like Arsenal, they lack depth. They lack the depth in their squad, and they're going to lose Rice and potentially Souček. Or even if they lose one of them, I feel like there's going to be a much larger gap in that midfield because they don't have anybody to replace either of them.
But they'll get a crazy fee. So if they lose Declan Rice, you know, you've got the fact that everyone thinks this guy is a world beater and he's English. Just stick the English tax on him. You're probably looking 80 to 100 million to get him out of West Ham. Plus, he's their captain. He's going to be tied down on a mega long contract.
Young English player, yeah.
So they lose Declan Rice. They can easily go into the European market, I think, and find a better player for that role. Something that David Moyes, I think, is petrified of doing. Because if I'm sitting here as an average Joe, David Moyes must know, right, that Declan Rice in that role, he's maybe like good at breaking up play, but an actual dictating play. You know, you could come up to Celtic and take Callum McGregor, and he would improve the tempo of the football that West Ham were playing, rather than Declan Rice. So you can certainly go into the European markets and pick up, whatever embarrassment of riches Bayern and PSG are hiding, and bring someone in to better that role, and then probably still have a little bit left over to go and plug a few more gaps in the squad. I think West Ham will come again. I think they're reaching their ceiling, and I think they'll maybe prioritise the Europa League, because if they get past, who did they get drawn against? It wasn't crazy difficult, was it?
Oh,
The Europa League draw.
Yeah, who did they get? This is where we do need Liam.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if they get past whoever that is, they play Barca in the semi-final. That'll be the biggest game in there.
They knocked Sevilla out.
Mm-hmm.
And they got... Oh, it was Leon. That's it. They got drawn against Leon.
Yeah. So I think that they fancy himself to go and do Leon over two legs. I certainly fancy him to beat Leon over two legs.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, obviously, fancy Barca after their performance in La Liga against Real Madrid to go and do the business in their tie. And then it's West Ham Barcelona in the semi-final. If they both make it there, what a tie! Doesn't matter.
It's mad, isn't it?
A rugby score, but what a tie!
Absolutely mad.
I mean, Liam's probably clipping all these because Declan Rice has got an overhead kick probably against Barcelona to beat him, and then he'll never let me live it down. That's what he does, all this. But realistically, Pedri's just going to tear him inside out and make him look like an even more average player, because if Harry Kane can do it.
Yeah, and Liam, if you are listening and you are clipping all of this, get a hobby, please, mate. But you know what? Speaking of Barcelona, I don't know if you guys caught the game or any of the highlights as well. A pretty mental result, to say the least. We of course saw Aubameyang's bag himself a brace, and then we had followed up goals from Ronald Araujo and Ferran Torres. A very surprising result, as Real Madrid are running away with La Liga at the moment. Are Barcelona really now getting, having their resurgence under Xavi? Pretty similar to how Arsenal are with Arteta at the moment, where they've had to, again, they had their struggles in the summer financially, and they of course had Ronald Koeman at the start of the season, who just didn't have the dressing room behind him, was not getting results, severely underachieving. Do we feel now that Xavi, being a former player, and how much Barcelona does mean to him, as a player, then now taking the main reins, is it kind of relatable to how Arsenal are under Arteta, Sam?
I mean, he's had a much quicker turnaround with what he's trying to do, and I feel like that's mainly down to how the play in the Spanish league is, and how he knows that because he was there plucking his trade for God knows how many years. He knows that league inside out, and he also knows that Barca team inside out. So he's definitely had a much better start off than Arteta did. It's taken him, what, 3 seasons to get us to this point, or 2.5, however you wanna put it. And I think it was today I saw a statistic. Since Xavi took over, I think they have actually gained more points than Real Madrid since his appointment. So it just shows there that he is making a very positive impact, and his style of play. I mean, I've watched a couple of games. I really do feel like Barcelona's style of play is coming back. The little tiki-taka, the passing, the pace, they look deadly again. And now with Aubameyang firing on all cylinders up front for them, they seem to have completed their little package at the moment. Whether that carries on, because I don't know how many years Aubameyang's got left in him, but I do feel like he has done very, very well in a very short time for Barca, and they should be appreciative of it.
It just goes to show that it was a big shame that the fact that Arteta and Aubameyang had their differences, because you would like to think that the Aubameyang Barca have at the moment, and
is the Aubameyang that we fell in love with at Arsenal.
Exactly.
It's just the phenomenal goal scorer that will show up and give you goals game in, game out. That's why he was bought. That's why he was bought at the age he was bought, because wherever he has gone, he has given goals. He is a proven goal scorer in, I think, almost any league now. He could go pretty much anywhere, and he seems to be banging goals for fun. Once he gets into his form, it's hard to stop him scoring goals. Like, he had that Henry-esque finish about him, where his typical finish, where he just take it on his right foot, curl it around the goalkeeper. The guy's phenomenal, and I'm glad he's enjoying his football again, and I was sad to see him go. But at the end of the day, like Joel said earlier, no player is bigger than the club. So if Arteta says that's it, the club's got to go with it, because he wasn't showing up on time. He was out partying when he was supposed to be doing other things. He was almost teenagerish. So he had to put his foot down, and this was the end result, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, Barcelona in the last 5 games have scored 4 goals in 4 of them. They are in a rich vein of form.
Yes.
They certainly look to be returning. A little bit too late for the title this year, but it opens it up nicely for next year. I mean, Benzema at the ripe age of whatever it is now, 33, 34, 22 goals this season. He's turned back the clock, and he had a great game against PSG the other week as well.
He really did.
Yeah.
He came out. I think he came out and said today, before the Barca game, all the boys were doing was just playing FIFA through the night. That's not really how you should prepare for. That shows how they saw Barca, and how they ahead of them they really thought there was. And to get slapped 4-0, I feel like you deserve it.
Is it just me? Does everyone have that one player that we were wrong about? Because Benzema is mine.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know. It was. I think maybe.
In what regard? Sorry.
I don't know.
His career in total, or just this season, or like.
No, just I think maybe primarily he was overshadowed by stars like Ronaldo and Bale and Mesut Ozil at the time when he was I wouldn't say world class, but he was doing his thing.
Mesut Ozil was. Not even just because he was an Arsenal guy. I think he was better at Real Madrid than what he was at Arsenal. He was phenomenal in that. Real Madrid.
It was good at passing. It was good at passing to Ronaldo. It didn't make him world class.
I held back on world class there. I sort of didn't. I was like, I know I'm going to get my head bitten off.
I think the player that I was wrong about was Giroud. I think after sort of the guy's a World Cup winner.
That's a good one. Yeah.
He's done it at Arsenal, done it at Chelsea.
World Cup, yeah.
And he's gone and he must have won an FA Cup at Arsenal. Probably an Emirates Cup as well. He's got tucked away in his trophy case. But he's gone to AC Milan. He's still scoring goals, and I honestly thought the guy was absolute trash. But I've watched the Premier League years a few times, and some of the intricate football he was playing, like Jack Wilshere and that back in the day, was that Wilshere goal against Norwich, where it's like they pop it all around. Wilshere like pops it into him, he flicks it back. Wilshere takes it first time.
Oh, it was
The back
a
when Wilshere didn't
magical
have
goal.
The Scorpion, yeah, it was just
scorpion kick. Yeah, so I think that's probably mine. Never rated him, but when you look back at the embarrassment of riches that he has, probably wrong.
What would be yours, Sam?
I think mine was actually embarrassingly Harry Kane.
That's understandable, though. That is quite understandable.
I never really rated him. I didn't think he was going to get far. I really didn't, and he shut me up season after season after season. I thought he was a one-season wonder the first season he started doing it, and he's just kicked on and on and on. And if he continues on the way he is, he will become the Premier League top goal scorer. I honestly believe that.
Yeah.
I hate to admit that, but I do honestly believe that. If he goes to City or Liverpool or whatever, I honestly think he will smash 30 goals a season. The guy is phenomenal. I hate to say it, but I have to admit it.
Do we feel that we need him? Does he really need to jump ship now? Is it really the right time? He's come to. He's in his peak years.
The right time
He's
was
got
2 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. He needs to leave. And I wasn't positive on the situation because obviously my dad's a big Tottenham fan, my brother's a big Tottenham fan. I have a soft spot for him, so I wasn't 100% sure until I watched an interview with Teddy Sheringham, and Teddy Sheringham was very much in the same position as Harry Kane back in whenever it was sort of 97. He was at Spurs. He realised that Spurs weren't going to spend the money to bring in the players that were going to allow him to go and compete for the trophies he wanted to. So Alex Ferguson come knocking. He went to United. He goes on to win Champions League and league title, FA Cups, and everything else. Listen to him talk, just completely painted it out. Daniel Levy is never in a million years going to give Harry Kane a squad that is going to win the Premier League. There'll always be a Gareth Bale that needs moving on. There'll always be a Modric that he wants to move on. He wants to get 100 million for. He wants to recoup. Wants to make a profit on that asset. And the next one will be Son, because he's far too good.
Yeah.
So he would quite happily cling hold of Harry Kane, the English Tottenham, icon. He'd happily cling on to that because
of Spurs.
The merchandise, but everyone around him is completely dispensable, and that's the problem. 100%. That Romario that's come in looks really, really good. Reguilon now being talked about going to Barcelona for a swap deal with them bringing in Memphis Depay. So, yeah, everyone is sellable, bar Harry Kane. I think that's the problem. Kane wants a squad that's going to let him go and compete for the big trophies. And with Tottenham and the way that Daniel Levy runs his club, Daniel Levy's more than happy to finish fourth and reap the rewards from the Champions League. And ultimately, that it's not going to be something that Harry Kane's going to be content with or satisfied with. So I think he has to move, and he has to make sure that he gets it done in this window, which I think he will because his contract's running down. He's obviously not going to sign a new contract. Levy knows that he has to move him in this window to get any kind of decent price for him. The fact that Harry Kane's now turning it on at the back end of the season will only ramp his value up again. But I think this summer you will see, there's already talk that Tottenham are back in for Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan. That's being touted at about 80 million. I think they know that Harry Kane's leaving. Behind closed doors, they'd have had those conversations, and they know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's partly why. But that's partly why I do have a little sympathy for him, because it was said that them conversations were had last summer, and he was due to leave last summer, and then he was promised this squad built around him, and the manager brought in, and blah blah blah, challenging for Champions League, etc., etc., and that just hasn't happened. I know he picked up an injury at the start of the season or mid, however long through it was, but he just hasn't been given the stuff that he was promised. So if I was Harry Kane, I would definitely be looking to leave this summer, because Spurs just aren't going to be challenging for Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues without him, and he knows that. But he also knows that if he wants to get this top goal scorer and win the Champions Leagues and win Premier Leagues, he needs to move on. He's not going to do that with
Well,
Spurs.
the other thing is as well, like like with Harry Kane saying, he wasn't promised, for the club to spend and build around him. Take into account, I mean, Harry Kane has played under, what was it now, 5 different managers now
Yeah.
at Spurs.
He gets promised the same thing each time, and it never comes to fruition.
And this is the thing, like I think he really has. I mean, I wouldn't say he's overstayed his welcome, but he needs to make that next step now.
Yeah, 100%.
How old is he?
I think he may have even played under more than 5 managers.
Well, at Spurs, I know he's been on loan a few times.
I mean, because it was Tim Sherwood.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So Sherwood, and obviously Villas Boas, your boy from Wolves, whatever his name was.
Oh, it might be 6 then.
Mourinho,
Conte.
and Ryan Mason.
Ryan Mason, yeah. Yeah, 6 managers.
He was a manager. He managed them for a few games. I'm counting Ryan Mason but
he didn't honestly cross my mind. A couple of games.
Could you imagine Ryan Mason in that dressing room? It'd be like a dwarf trying to get giants to play for him, wouldn't it? Ryan's like, Harry, will you come help me? And we all know that Harry's forte isn't public speaking.
Right, guys, come on, let's do a football today. Woo!
We'll watch the documentary. He's a great footballer, not a great public speaker. Doesn't do many post-match interviews, does he? But
no,
yeah, he needs to leave, and then he can push Kevin De Bruyne to go and do all the interviews. But if he goes to a big, a big club, in if he was to go to Man City, I don't think Liverpool would buy him. I don't think he fits that mould. I think it's only really City. He bangs a ridiculous amount of goals.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue now. I feel like because he didn't leave last summer with the whole City thing, City have openly and publicly said that they want Haaland. If they spend 150 mil on Haaland, or however, it's not even that much, is it? His thingy is
60 mil.
Yeah, exactly, for Haaland. Or you can spend 80 mil on Harry Kane, who's 28, etc., etc. Haaland's what, 20, 21? Something like this?
But I think the old cliche rings true, and yes, Haaland is an amazing talent, but it could take him a couple of years to get up to speed in the Premier League, as it takes a few players. They come in and they don't quite hit the ground running. City is a juggernaut now that needs to be challenging every single season. And if you bring Harry Kane in, what you are guaranteeing is 25 goals a season. Haaland could come in and score 25, but you're taking that risk. Do you pay the extra 20, 30 million for guaranteed goals? I think so. And Haaland, for even in his youth, he's had a lot of injuries at Dortmund this season. He's missed a lot of football through being injured, notably a couple of games against a Glaswegian team, dickhead. But even at his age, he's picking up those knocks. So I would be, if I was Pep, I'd be more leaning towards Harry Kane, just because he knows that he's going to come in and see again. The way that he looks after himself, the way that sports science and nutrition is evolving. If you buy him at 28, you get peak Harry Kane for 5 years, 25 goals, as long as he stays fit. Obviously, he has that reoccurring thing with his ankle, but if you keep Harry Kane fit, 5 seasons, he bags you 100 goals.
They win the league for the next 5 seasons. I honestly don't see it. If Harry Kane went to that City squad, that would be them taking another level up and leaving Liverpool behind.
And that wouldn't be the only addition. I mean, obviously Pep will step away after a little while, but if they were to get Harry Kane, it wouldn't just stop with Harry Kane. There would be, some other centre back as well, or some other midfielder. They're just, I think we've seen over the last few weeks, there needs to be a more intrusive and extensive look into the owners of Premier League football clubs, and it's a wee bit ridiculous. You know, the money that PSG have, the money that City have, that they would just keep hoovering up anyone that looks half decent. And even if they get Harry Kane for 80 million, that won't be where they stop. They'll go out and buy someone else as well.
Probably Declan Rice for fucking 80 million as well. Like it's just a club that they are. Same as that Chelsea back in the day. Anyone that was half decent, they were like, yeah, we'll have him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they can, because that stops the opposition from getting anyone decent and challenging them.
I'd rather Conor Gallagher over Declan Rice.
Yeah, 100%. I rate Conor Gallagher massively.
Brilliant
huge,
player.
Huge fan of Conor Gallagher. Massive. You're buzzing to see the boy in a semi-final as well. Not much of a real resistance, but from Everton, they were good for the first half hour on the weekend. But yeah, he's a special player, and Palace should be doing everything in their power to try and convince that man to stay in South East London. But again, the pull of playing in the Champions League and challenging for league titles, I think will be too much. He'll come back to Chelsea, but he should walk into that team. Time to sell Kovac. You don't need him anymore. This boy's the real deal.
Him and Conte. Ooh.
Oh my. Yeah, mental.
Jorginho on the pivot. Big midfield, like.
Yeah, mate, frightening. But you know what? I've just realised I forgot to cover your Gordon for Gondor. Honestly,
well, I thought that's why he wasn't here. It's the first. Is it not the first time that? Oh no, it's not the first time he's missed a podcast, but would have been the first time that he was talking about a defeat. I think that's why he's maybe come down with the fever. He's caught the fear.
Yeah. So long story short, your Gordon played Malmö in the Svenska Cupen semi-final. Came up short, 1-0 to Malmö. And to rub salt in the wounds, the other semi-finalists were Hammarby and Elfsborg. Hammarby, being Djurgården's Stockholm rivals, ended up beating Elfsborg, and they made the final against Malmö. And you know what? I've seen, when Stu has been with us on the pod, how he's spoken about the Svenska Cup in high regard. I'm just saying right now, Svenska Cup, dog shit cup. Moving on. Right, what I really want to talk about, and it's I was reading about it briefly earlier, and I've come across like a really good source, with a quote from the culprit himself. We've seen it in 3 Premier League fixtures this past week. I'm just going to mutter the words, "Just stop oil." I don't know if you boys have seen anything about this. Well, going by Joel's reaction, I'm pretty sure he knows what I'm on about.
I know exactly what you're on about.
Yeah.
They tried it. What was the game I was watching?
So there was one protester that tried it in the Liverpool and Arsenal game on Wednesday night last week.
Yep.
Then there was one, well, the most notable one, where he zip-tied his neck to the goalpost. That was in the Everton-Newcastle game.
Trust him to get from Everton's defence.
By the way,
he won him the game in the end, didn't he?
That isn't the most scariest bit about this. For me, anyway, the scariest bit is that there's a reverse angle where the steward is obviously doesn't want to be publicly trying to rip this guy's neck off of a fucking goalpost. It looks like he's fucking strangling the guy. So the Scousers, we all know them. They're lovable.
Yeah, I know you go with this. Yeah.
Inviting characters. He this friendly Scouser bumps the advertising board onto the pitch, hands a knife to the steward. Steward takes said knife. Fuck me.
And he's just gone, yeah, cheers, pal.
Yeah. Cuts the
I need
guy
that.
loose. The guy's looking around thinking, where the fuck did you get a knife from, buddy? Fuck, didn't expect that. Well, you're in Liverpool. Should have. And then
They're just making sandwiches.
Steward hands the knife back to the guy in the crowd and he just fucks off back into the crowd.
Controversial to say the least.
Like, go figure, it's the Liverpool game, isn't it? And then the other game, was the Wolves Leeds game.
Ham's.
No, it was Wolves versus Leeds. Again, it was another game where Leeds scored very late on, where you thought, all right, what has happened in this game that has caused that amount of additional time to be added on? And like I said, like I've come across this source on talks.
I'm pretty sure he tried to do it. I'm pretty sure they tried to do it in the Tottenham
They did.
West Ham game as well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
They had them on the floor in the goal mouth.
Yeah.
So here's a quote here from, so apparently the man goes by the name of Louis McKechnie, a 21-year-old who was the culprit for the Everton Newcastle game with the zip tie around his neck. He in fact filmed a video beforehand, before he actually did it. So I'm going to read the quote now from Mr. McKechnie. My name is Lewis McKechnie. I'm 21 years old, and I am a mechanical engineering student. I'm about to disrupt a football match, and I'm terrified. But I believe as many people as possible need to know what a possible future holds. Billions of people not knowing if they should stay in their homes or if they leave where they can go as countries become too hot to live in. Mass starvation due to crop failure is fighting in the bakery aisle at Morrison's. The cost of living crisis, COVID and the war in Ukraine are showcasing this future. I want my government to do all they can do to stop this from coming true. But they are expanding oil and gas, making things worse, increasing the risk. We know this because the International Energy Agency told us no new gas from 2011. If governments are serious on this action on climate, we are calling on ordinary people to join thousands in mass civil resistance this spring. Hundreds and hundreds of all ages have signed up to support the demand of no new oil and gas. Just stop oil. It's a no-brainer and the first step to stop the harm. Well, all due respect, Mr. McKechnie, I'm going to give it a pass, mate.
Yeah, Mr. McKechnie, I don't want to disregard you in any way, shape or form, but if I could draw someone that looks like a Tory rat,
yeah,
it is
on the head.
You'd be very close. And I think the reason that you was worried about stopping a football match, I think to do with the football match, the fact that you was a fucking Tory in Liverpool, I think was what was probably fucking making your arsehole quiver. So, with all due respect, go and piss off the middle class rugby games, mate. Just stay away from football. They'll pat you on the head and give you a fucking bun at the end of it or something, mate. But just leave us be, would you?
I bet you got a lot of attention from the ladies. A lot of the ladies turned to him and gone, "Oh, I bet you can fix my laptop."
Well, he got a lot of male attention. Certainly on Sunday when I don't know if it was him, but whoever tried to get into that goal, the stewards were very, should we say, heavy-handed.
Oh yes.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I love the way that what he's decided to do in his maturity. You know, he's a student. He's obviously trying to talk about a very serious and a modern subject that we should, be openly having conversations about. Not a football podcast, but we should be having conversations about this. But when he didn't get to zip tie himself to the goalpost or the net, whatever he was trying to do, that they were trying to impersonate Spider-Man, be upside down, whatever the fuck he was going for. He just reverted back to a 5-year-old. Remember when you couldn't get the game in Woolworths and your mum says, right, it's time to go, and you just lay flat, dead waiting? That's exactly what he's reverted back to. No, let me get on the post. Let me get on the post.
You know what? In all fairness, he looks like a fucking... What's it? So in Woolworths, where they didn't have the actual game cartridge in the case, he just looks like a plastic... he looks exactly like the plastic case with the fucking zip tie around it.
No,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, so, just stop oil. If you are listening, please open your eyes, stay away from football, and go have a wash, you smelly cunts.
I hope it makes it feel better, but I've run out of oil today and I've just ordered £190 worth of it to be delivered tomorrow, so it worked.
Yeah, round of applause, Joel, well done.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'll burn this country, don't you worry.
I feel like there is very, very, very many matters that need attending to within this world, and he's just chosen a very wrong time to try and bring awareness to his one.
And then what he's tried to do is this is when you always know that the guy is a prick. Is right at the end of his speech, he staples on actual things that matter. So he's like, and this is all because of COVID, and he
That's so
staples that
true.
onto his agenda. Oh, it's all because of the war in Ukraine, and he staples it onto his agenda. If your point was actually that relevant and we needed to discuss it, you wouldn't be needing to fucking piggyback off of Vladimir Putin, which is a pretty dangerous thing to do anyway, because you may catch a fucking tomahawk missile. So stay in your lane, Dungeons and Dragons, all that good shit. And, may bump into you in Elden Ring. If I do, I hope you're on my side. You look like you'd be fantastic at that game.
I also,
But,
what are you on about? He'll serve you in CEX anyway.
he'll probably try selling me runes for 40 million runes for F5. He's probably farmed so hard. That's what allowed him to get up to Merseyside, because he clearly lives in South East London. This is the kind of guy that, like, he isn't from South East London. He's probably from fucking Bolton or somewhere, and he goes back home. He goes back home every Christmas.
No. I
Goes
was
back
about
home
to
every
say
Christmas.
something then. I can't do it. I'm holding myself back.
Probably from Bolton. Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
He goes back every Christmas and he tells them how much he struggles, but he'd never move back to that shithole. That kind of guy. Fucking dickhead.
Well, I'm just hoping, if he's staying away from football, just please don't make primary schools your next stop, mate.
Oh man, he'll be in prison before the end of the week.
I mean, on that bombshell, we should slide swiftly past this matter onto something.
Well, you know what? Funny you say that. We are actually approaching the end of tonight's episode. So, as always, I don't know if you boys have had a little brainstorm, as we like to end on a nice little story and a thing we like to call the Venom Chronicles. I actually thought of one earlier myself, if I'm honest.
Mate, I have been racking my brain all week, and I don't know what state I was in at some of them, but I can only remember parts of nights. I can't actually remember a full night with you, because whenever I've been out on a night with you...
Dude, you were never out!
Yeah, that's the point. And whenever I was, you were all like, "Way, drink, way," so much drunk. So I can't remember my nights with you. I can remember turning up at the end of nights and picking you up off the floor, like, picking you up off of walls or out of bins. I don't remember an entire night with you, because I don't remember myself. I wasn't of sound mind. So I feel like this is for you two. Like, if anything pops up, then by all means, I'll share.
Well, the thing is, Joel will always find one where I make an absolute mockery out of myself. I mean, the one I thought of is like, I don't know, like I sort of come out the hero in a way.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I don't know. So, did you have one, Joel?
No, I was going to say that, we probably will have one, eventually, in a couple of years. Hopefully my bonus hit there, so I'll hopefully be booking my wedding soon. So, we can look forward to, not the wedding day, Maud. You must behave on that day. If you wreck my wedding, I will bury you in your Stockholm house. The stag do, of course. Everyone should come away with their own story from the stag do.
Yeah.
Just keep the Mad Dog away from me, mate.
Be happy with a bottle of Mad Dog 2020.
2020.
Stinky finger. Anyway.
So the one I thought of, I was talking about it earlier, funnily enough, with a friend of mine, and it was one where, so this was, I'm pretty sure this was after I had my 21st in Cardiff, which was an incredible weekend, and we'll definitely have stories for that for future episodes.
Is that the same weekend that Joel stole my pie?
That's the exact weekend I'm talking about, and that, honestly, that was what I was going to cover as well. Literally, well, I guess we can talk about that now. So I ended up having my 21st birthday in Cardiff. Brought all the boys down. Joel and Sam were also present. Gondor was also there as well. But there was 7 of us in total. So we were just having a jolly good time being 21-year-olds. Well, at least I'm guessing all of us were, apart from Jamie, who was a year younger than us. But it was the Saturday night. My dad had come down to Cardiff as well. And he did what all dads do. They always go to the pub and they watch a live band, and we were just pre-drinking in the hotel. But yeah, it was a fantastic night. Went to a few places. We ended up in our beloved bunker. And then at the end of the night, and leading up to this trip, I had been absolutely banging on about these Clark's pies. And Clark's pies is a meat pie you can get, that is you can only find them in Cardiff. I was like, boys, you've got to try these Clark's pies. So we end up going down to Chippy Alley. We find the spot, and we just stack up on Clark's pies. Joel takes one bite and then basically inhales the entire thing. And
sounds like me, to be fair.
yeah, but I think we had about 10 of these pies in the end. And so right by our hotel we had a casino, and they were actually showing the boxing that night. It was Amir Khan versus someone, I can't remember who it was. So we'd come into this casino, and we'd been in there earlier in the day to like see if we can get like I don't know if we can go in and just mess around for an hour or so, but we had to like get like a membership or something ridiculous. But they were ever so gracious to let us come in and watch the boxing for a short period. And so, regrettably, I'd given Joel the responsibility of holding the bag of Clark's pies. Now, there was
a story that I don't really remember.
I do remember it pretty well. I don't remember a lot of stuff, but this really did glue in my mind for all of eternity. And so there's not many pies. There's enough pies for. There's one for Sam and there's one for Ash. And Joel has a little, and Joel is, his nose has been magnetically dragged towards the bag. He opens the bag up, and he turns to me and goes, "Morg, there's 2 more Clark's pies in there." And I was like, "No, Joel. One's for Ash, one's for Sam." He went, "Oh, I'll have fucking Sam's then, won't I?"
That's exactly that, Joel.
And Sam was not happy when we got back to the hotel.
I was fuming. I waited about fucking 2 hours for these pies. After the talk, the whole way down there, you got to try them. And I'm like, yeah, I will. I'm waiting. I remember. I think I get someone home because they're not, doing the best. And I'm waiting in that hotel specifically for my pie. You two stroll through the door. He hands Ash a pie, and I'm like,
"Where's mine?
Where's my pie?" Joel just looked at him and went, "I don't know." Where's my pie? What just happened? And then Ash is trying to be the good guy. He's like, "Oh, you can have mine," and I'm like, "No, it's fine. I'll get one tomorrow." And then I just remember all night I was seething because I was like, "No, my pie. That someone ate my fucking pie." And I should have known it was Joel.
Who else would it be? Who else?
Trust me. But then, to be fair, I'd probably do the same thing back to him. So it is what it is.
But I know what Joel would be like. Joel would be like, "Fucking great pies, though, wouldn't he?"
No, but that's what he did. He's like, "Well, I ate mine. Mine was nice. Oh, thanks for that." Fucking thanks for that.
I mean, I've a vague recollection of eating a pie in a casino. I don't remember the. I mean, if it was a toss-up between eating Ash's and Sam's, I definitely would have ate Sam's. So it sounds like it could have. it could be authentic, but
Definitely.
I mean, I don't know how authentic me walking in and handing Ash the pie is, because Ash. I'm pretty sure you went home with Nikki and Ash, and were.
Yeah,
you missed out on
they were
pie.
In bed, and you handed them the pie.
You missed out on a pie, but you nearly got another pie. You know what I'm saying?
Mate, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you were poking Ash while he was busy.
Oh, it was an experience, mate. I was in a bed.
He was propositioned.
I was propositioned. Ash was like, "What? You? No, I'm okay, thank you. You carry on. You carry on doing what you're doing right next to me." I'm good, thank you, bro.
Ash, tag me in.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, it was an experience. All right, I remember that night very well, very vividly. And
Yeah, it
then
was just
I
a
also
brilliant
remember waking
weekend,
up.
wasn't it? It was just a brilliant
Yeah, that
weekend.
was a brilliant
Loved
weekend.
every second of it.
Yeah, mate, I loved every
It was
second of it,
brilliant.
apart from the second when my heart was broken when no pie was returned to me. That was about it.
This guy.
To this day, I still haven't
Fucking hell, Sam, you don't half fucking complain, don't you?
I still haven't had one. The only person to go there and not have one.
Mate, what I want you to do, mate, is you've been back to Wales since.
Yeah, we still didn't get one though. It just wasn't on the agenda.
So I mean, whose fault is it really?
Definitely yours. Definitely yours.
You know what? Joe is so good at turning the tables. I've noticed. You know.
He tries.
Oh, he's
he
no, but I love it though. It's brilliant. I love how creative
I know.
he is.
No, I know. But you get used to it after so many years, and then you combat it.
This
He's
is
paid the
yeah.
money to go across the toll to enter in to the land of the Welsh. He's driven through, could have stopped in Cardiff City Centre, popped into a chippy. There isn't just one specific shop. They make them all over Cardiff.
They do,
You know,
yeah.
so you're driving through Wales, you hit Newport. You know, you're driving through Cardiff. You could have stopped if you know you've gone too far. If you hit that smell, Swansea, come back. Fine. But easily could have manoeuvred your way and found the delicacy. But you were too,
I
caught
was
up in
too
climbing
caught up
mountains
in
and all
the
this
trauma
fucking
of what
silliness.
happened. That was a traumatic experience, and I have never recovered from it.
Oh God, I mean, like, you know what? Despite all our, our daily routines nowadays, we definitely need to try and get something sorted for us to get the gang back together and have a nice trip down to South Wales.
Well, with a stag do coming up, it can leave via
Could be a
Chippy
contender.
Alley. It's shut this man's mouth up, but he'll probably get the
That'd be
Cardiff and want to climb a
wonderful
mountain or
stag do.
something.
Wonderful
I
steak.
mean,
Dude. Let's go with some Clark's pies.
No, what Joel will do, he won't buy one. Sam will take one bite out of it, and then and then Joel will just be like, "Oh, let me have a bite of that," and just inhale the entire
I'll
thing
go
again.
to rest it down somewhere. I'll come back. It will be gone.
I would purposely
Monk, there's one more pie over here.
Like a primely halfpenny. I would purposely intercept that. I would channel my inner Welshman from the brethren that surrounded me, and I would intercept that motherfucker's pie.
No, you just
I'm talking
got
like-
all
The guy's handing it over the counter. That's how I paid for it, and I would be snatching it out of his hand.
that. I could be on my deathbed, and then my last wish would be a Clark's pie, and you'd still eat it in front of my face.
Joel coming into the chippy like Dr. Octopus. He uses his octopus fucking mechanic arms to reach over Sam and just snatch his pie. And be like that.
You've painted me in a bad light in this last.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
Basically,
sorry. It's a funny
basically
video. I'm not jumping to conclusions that you're going to do it every time.
Basically said, Joel ate all the pies, and now I'm some kind of.
Oh my god. Yep.
Oh fucking hell. Well, I'll save my story for next week then. That was quite a funny way to end it. But I don't always end it like that. We don't always end it like that. I always like to finish on a football-related question. And this week's question is: who is the biggest player that you have met in terms of accomplishments?
Ooh.
Oh man.
That you've met.
Man.
And I don't mean like sit down and have a Clark's pie with them. I mean like you can meet them at an open day or whatever.
Such a cunt. I honestly haven't met a football player like that. I haven't. Mine would
Really?
be Joel, because he won Phoenix Player of the Year for fucking, I don't know, however many years. My biggest is Joel. Yeah, there you go. Mr. Mayhem.
Mr. Mayhem himself.
I mean, and there was that one season, Morg, where you got a nice little trophy at Fleet Fives. So you're on the same level as Joel.
Did I get a trophy?
At some point, we all did.
I didn't get no fucking trophy. I would just have it now. Talking out your arse, mate. We never got a trophy from Fleet Fives.
Mate, we smashed Fleet Fives.
Yeah,
like
why'd you think it
2
closed
seasons in
down a
row.
year? You closed down like a year or two. They couldn't afford anything. Fucking
Yeah,
trophies.
that's very true. Very true.
Probably Darren Bent would be.
Darren Ben.
Yeah, obviously, I used to follow Charlton. Obviously, living in South East London, and when we're going over for the, for Celtic, and that, you're over, you're at the game, and don't really. But yeah, Darren Bent was there. I went to like a signing thing, and him and I think it was, I want to say Darren Ambrose was there as well.
Yeah.
But so obviously, Darren Bent over Darren Ambrose.
Naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, well, yeah, back in the Charlton days. You know what? It's between two, because one of them holds a very close place to my heart. Mainly because I spoke to him over the phone for 2 minutes a few months back, and he signed like a little Christmas card for me, Mr. Joe Rawls. But in terms of accomplishments, and like, don't get me wrong, and I know Rawls, he won't be listening, I'm pretty sure of it. He's someone who's been ever present at the club. He's been at the club for 10 years. He's been our spearhead in our midfield. A fantastic player for us and a magnificent servant. But in terms of accomplishments, I've got to go with Robbie Fowler.
Ooh, Fowler.
It was the one season he was at Cardiff.
Anya's met Robbie Fowler.
Oh, has she?
Oh.
I mean,
Sorry, boys, tell a lie. Mine's Jimmy Bullard.
Oh, Jimmy Bullard.
Oh yeah.
He's local. He's local to me. Oh, he was at least.
Oh, yeah, he is, isn't
He owns
he?
the pub in Crayford. That's why I said I met him in the pub in Crayford.
Oh, bloody hell. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Jimmy
mine's Jimmy
Bullard.
Bullard. Sorry, I actually
Oh,
forgot
fair
about him.
play.
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if we're talking in terms of winning things, I think they're probably still running close.
Probably. That Phoenix trophy.
God, I feel Jimmy Bullard's going to be like John Terry in Tenerife soon.
Oh god.
Touche! You want a free shot tonight, boys?
Jimmy Bullard would pull it off far better, wouldn't he?
Oh, he
He's
would.
the real winner here.
Yeah.
Football.
Football, man.
Yeah, no, like, Jimmy Bullard's an entertainer and a somewhat promoter. John Terry's just a fucking alcoholic racist.
Fucking hell, not even closet.
No, not even closet. But anyhow, well, boys, pleasure as always. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Another great episode. As it always is, it's always good fun. Thank you to everyone watching and listening. If you want to check out this episode and the previous episodes, you can find the Football Booth on YouTube. You can find it up on Spotify, and you can find it on Buzzsprout. Episode 4 will be up tomorrow. Stu has definitely guaranteed that. I know you can hear me next door as well, so no pressure, Stu. Maybe it'll make me want to come back next week as well. But thanks again, everyone, for watching. Mayhem, Sam, thank you very much again for joining, and we'll catch you all next
Thank
week.
you for having us, man.
Hey, Noah!